Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
This is TWiT News Special number 393 for Wednesday, May 24th, 2023. Microsoft Build Day 2 Keynote. TWiT News is brought to you by ACI Learning. IT skills are outdated in about 18 months. Give your team the training they want while future-proofing your business. ACI Learning is changing the training industry for good and giving IT pros what they want. Fill out the form at go.acilearning.com/twit to get more information on a free 2-week trial for your team. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our Day 2 coverage of Microsoft Build. The second keynote is about to begin. Paul Thurrott will be joining us this morning. A little later on, Rich Campbell. And, of course, later after the keynote, a special Windows Weekly edition where Richard and Paul and I will talk about what we see today. Unclear exactly what Microsoft plans with today's keynote. We're about to get underway. Let's go.
Please welcome Executive Vice President, Experiences and Devices, Rajesh Jha.
Thank you. I'm Rajesh Jha, and I lead Experiences and Devices at Microsoft. I'm just so incredibly excited to be here today to discuss how together we can shape the future of work with AI. And then Panos is going to join me later, and he's going to talk about the future of Windows. So yesterday you had Satya, Kevin Scott Guthrie talk about the Copilot stack, the AI architecture of the future. Today is about bringing that AI stack to Microsoft products that hundreds of millions of people use every single day. Microsoft is going to democratize the opportunity for developers. That means you and us working together to bring this new capability to users around the globe. Satya talked about it yesterday, and I've been in this industry a long time. I do think we are looking at the next frontier of computing. When I started in the industry 3 decades ago, a long time ago, graphical user interface was democratizing computing by making it accessible to people around the globe. Millions and millions of people.
Sure, this time they start on time.
And AI is even more accessible. It's even more powerful. And working with you, we can transform the way work is done in society.
Good morning,
letting
Paul.
People use natural language
Good to see you.
to do their work.
So yesterday, after about an hour and a half, they really did a lot of how-to and demonstrations of how the code would work.
Right.
I think we're going to see more of that today. We actually had cut away at that point.
Employees, leaders around the globe.
Yeah, I don't know. This has been an interesting event because they're doing 2 keynotes, which is not unusual. This part is going to be really Microsoft 365, including Windows. So I assume they're going to expand on what they discussed yesterday. But the people who are going to take part in this keynote are not, by and large, technical people. They're just product people.
We had heard Panos Panay would be doing this one.
Yeah, Panos will be next. Yep. This person is Panos's boss, and he was the guy that sort of ran Windows between Terry Myerson and Panos.
No wonder.
So he's not a developer. He might have been in an earlier life, but he's not a developer today.
No. I don't think I would be surprised if we saw developers during this keynote.
3 out of 5 leaders, they said they're...
We saw a lot of Python yesterday.
Yep.
And then we asked them about AI. Unsurprisingly, 1 out of 2 said they worry about what AI means to their job, what it means to their current set of skills. But fully 70% of the same set of people said they want AI.
The other thing I think we're not going to see today is a dollar sign that explains how much this is all going to cost, because this stuff is not going to come for free.
Well, and this was, we talked a little bit about this yesterday with Richard. I mean, this is the kind of the dirty little secret of AI, is that it's very compute expensive.
They power businesses.
And of course, Microsoft loves that because that spend goes straight to them through Azure.
Right. Right now, the best deal in AI is to use the Bing stuff, because they're just paying ChatGPT.
Right.
But that's not going to last. And I think this Microsoft 365 Copilot stuff, Windows Copilot, is going to be added cost.
There's the number: 100 million daily active users of Bing Chat.
Yeah, that's what they wanted.
Yeah.
1 billion. Microsoft Teams.
But they're not showing you how much that costs. Because it costs them a lot of money.
I mentioned yesterday, Sam Altman has said, the CEO of OpenAI, that it's about 10 times the cost of a Google search, a single ChatGPT query. So it's a lot more expensive.
It's exciting to see the work that has been done by developers. We have 1,900 applications in the Teams App Store, and perhaps as impressive.
So this is Microsoft 365 Day, obviously.
That's right.
Yeah.
By customers.
We were hoping this might be Windows 12 Day, but no mention of 12 yesterday.
Okay, so I'm actually holding out hope for that. I think I would. I hope, I don't believe, but I hope that there is some mention, preview, something of what's coming down the pike. Because one of the issues with the way they're integrating AI into Windows today is that it's just another button on the taskbar. I think they need a new UI for this as well. And maybe
future
maybe
Windows. Okay, so we are going to hear about the future of Windows a little bit.
I want to share with you a little bit about how we thought about designing the Copilot. You've heard Satya talk about it.
Copilot's the overarching brand that they're using for most, but not all, of the AI. Yesterday, Satya said that they would be doing 50 plus AI announcements at Build.
It's about
some of them were Copilot, but not all of them.
By having the AI work on their behalf.
There's Windows Copilot. There's, of course, GitHub Copilot. And there's going to be Office Copilot or Microsoft 365 Copilot.
The design language available to developers. As you extend AI, as you build AI applications, you'll be able to use the same design language. So to show you our vision with a Copilot, let me run a quick video.
We want to thank our good friends at ACI Learning who've made this TWiT News special possible. ACI Learning is something you probably already know is part of IT Pro that we've merged together. While training industry's completion rate of their videos is about 30%, kind of pathetic, 70% bail out, ACI Learning blows its competition away. 80% completion rate. That's because their content is engaging and informative. This is the training IT pros want. Your enterprise needs cohesive, cutting-edge training to keep your team compliant, to keep you ahead of the pack. Choose an existing course. Let ACI Learning combine modules for a tailored solution, or have them custom design a course to address your specific needs. Join the always-on tech training solution in a rapidly changing world of technology. ACI Learning is always in the studio, recording and sharing relevant content that impacts your business. Be bold. Train smart. Fill out the form at go.acilearning.com/twit. Go.acilearning.com/twit to get more information on a free 2-week trial for your team. We're back from their quick video. We're now learning about Microsoft 365
What do they work on?
Copilot.
The meetings, the conversations, the documents. That is the Microsoft Graph. So the Microsoft Graph represents the user. It represents their context. That is what grounds the AI.
One of the women we're going to hear from today during this show is the person who invented the Microsoft Graph.
That people are already using, whether it be in Office or Teams. And
what does that mean, inventing the Microsoft? What is that?
Well, she came up with this
phrase,
idea that we need. Well, think about what Copilot does in Windows, this notion that you can ask it to do things and it can do them across different applications.
Right.
You need some kind of communication between these things. And that was her idea, that we have all these data stores. We need to be able to combine them and then logically parse them to get the information we need. It's just kind of, it was an interesting idea that's turned into an incredible backbone to what they're doing in Microsoft 365.
Powered by natural language is right there with the rest of the community in the application, right by the user to help them complete their job. So the in-application assistance is exactly what you saw in the video. That's what you would expect to see work. I'm also excited about the cross-application intelligence layer. This is like ChatGPT for the enterprise. This in-app cross-application intelligence reasons over the users, all of their programs and applications, their personal data represented by the graph, their enterprise content. It brings all these workflows across the myriad of contexts and applications that a user uses. This is what I mean by user at the center. Less about the apps, put the user at the center, bring everything around them, like ChatGPT for the enterprise. So today, the rest of this conversation, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to you about the opportunity we have for developers. And we'll talk about this in 4 chapters. We'll talk about how can you extend this cross-application intelligence. Then how can you plug in at the data layer with a Microsoft Graph? How can you extend the in-application assistance? And then finally, we'll talk about developer success. What does it mean end-to-end based on the feedback you've given us over the years?
Is this the kind of stuff this audience wants to hear?
Let's dive into the cross-application intelligence layer in Microsoft 365.
So this is a tough one for me. We'll talk about this on Windows Weekly too, but I think there's a marketing opportunity here, and then there's a developer opportunity. And I feel like I like the way that Apple and Google separate their kind of marketing keynote from their developer keynote.
Right.
Archana, welcome.
And is this who you were talking about, Archana?
I need to see who it is.
Hello, everyone. Very good morning.
So.
Now, I'm going to show you how the Copilot is grounded in your company's data, thereby helping you work more efficiently and effectively. For this demo, I'm playing the role of Anika, who is an account manager. I have an important monthly sales meeting coming up with a customer at VentureWorks. My company uses both Microsoft 365 and Dynamics 365 to manage our VentureWorks relationship. First things first, I'd like to know
she's the product manager
my next
for
monthly
Teams.
Sales meeting with AdventureWorks.
Right.
I go ahead and ask that question to Copilot. Copilot is grounded in data from Microsoft Graph, so it can access my emails,
I believe the woman's name is Yina
conversations, and more
okay.
to help me with such specific information. I can also ask Copilot to do more than simply fetch information. For instance, I can ask it to summarize all my latest correspondence with the meeting organizers.
This is something Slack has also
it does so
introduced.
by summarizing my emails.
And it seems like a useful tool.
Summary,
I don't know because I asked Slack for access and they've yet to give it to me.
So
if you want, there's a version of this in Skype. If you want to just kind of play it, that's another free way to interact with this stuff.
Yeah. Microsoft's smart. They're giving all this stuff away. Well, it's going to cost them.
The first one's free, Leo.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I can also ask Copilot to take actions on my behalf. Like, for instance, to help me draft an email with everything that I just learned, like the email correspondence summary and the sales order activities, so that I can email that to my colleagues. Copilot helps me with this really useful email draft, which of course I can update with more information, personalize it, and make it my own.
Become sensitized to what AI-generated text sounds like. And I wonder how long it's going to be before people start rejecting emails that are clearly, not written in, Archana's voice.
Yeah, one of the things you guys would have talked about yesterday was this notion of AI that will check content to see whether it was created by AI.
Right.
And I was kind of wondering whether we would just become desensitized to it over time, that by the time they figured out how to do that accurately, no one would care anymore.
Right.
That captured the user's intent. It didn't matter if the data was in the graph specifically, or whether it was in some line of business schema, like the data was. And so the Copilot was
Microsoft has been talking about this forever.
And then available.
Cortana was an early attempt to kind of do this thing.
Let's talk about
the Microsoft Band, that fitness wearable they had, was the thing they talked about but never did. Was we have your health data, we have your schedule, we can give you insights that kind of cross those two boundaries.
What that means.
But they I think AI is going to finally enable them to do this thing they've wanted to do for a long time.
The Copilot is able to get to your information's data. You get to control the user experience, and the Copilot is able to act on the user's behalf. Now, we've settled on the same open standard as ChatGPT.
I wonder why.
Plugins. So OpenAI and Microsoft.
We did not have a choice. What we had to do.
Developer and Open API, a manifest.
There's been a lot of talk in the last 2 days about these plugins.
Plugin works in ChatGPT.
Because that's what brings
Bing, it works in Microsoft
these large language models up to date. You know, they're all frozen in time.
This is Chromium, right? For AI, we're going to adopt this standard, and all your extensions are going to work. You know, it's kind of the same. It's a smart approach.
And it was about a plugin that
because developers may ignore Bing or Microsoft Copilot or whatever, but they will. That stuff will just work.
That same plugin you will see now working in M365, Microsoft Teams.
And of course,
so in
the pitch is develop plugins for this.
That's what I meant by the interoperability.
Already they have Open Table and Wolfram Alpha.
The work that you do.
Yep. Yeah, they announced several more yesterday.
An Open API endpoint.
Yeah.
And then you get the portability
there are quite a few
of your extensibility.
And ChatGPT has been offering this as well. To subscribers. Anyway.
Here's the great news. That's not the only way to extend the Copilot in Microsoft 365. All your existing investments, message extensions. So today, many developers are extending the Teams messaging. So you're able to throw your custom conversation types into the flow of conversations. Now we made that same thing work in Microsoft Outlook. And that is also going to work as an extensibility in the Copilot. Furthermore, over the years, we worked with many developers to take Power Platform connectors and connect them to all sorts of backend data sources. Each of those connections are also available as a new skill for the Copilot. This Copilot is like the operating system for productivity and business process. And we do that together. You build the extensibility through a plugin, whether it be the Open API standard plugin or a message extension or using the Power Platform connector.
This is what, of course, yesterday they were talking about this idea.
That is why we are excited that we're going to have
AI as a platform. They even quoted Bill Gates' famous definition of a platform.
It's not only the new plugins you build.
Yeah, the definition was some number of users, wasn't it?
You make money. The users make money over and above what Microsoft makes, what the platform maker makes.
ISV and corporate developers that will all be available as
thousands of plugins
over the coming months.
Well, I mean, this is what Microsoft is fundamentally, right? A platforms company. It makes sense. This slots nicely into what they're already doing.
With our colleagues in Visual Studio, we built a Teams toolkit to make it incredibly easy to go build, debug, and deploy these plugins.
I mean, we've got platforms on platforms here. You've got Windows, you've got Teams, and now you have Copilot.
Oh, this also fits in nicely with the kind of heterogeneous world that Microsoft finds itself in, right? You're not creating something for Windows here,
right?
You're creating something that could run on Windows for sure, but it might run in the browser, it might run out in ChatGPT on the web or whatever. It's smart.
GitHub code spaces open in this machine here. Like Rajesh said, all you need to build a plugin for Copilot is a RESTful API that follows Open API specifications. For this demo, we are going to use a repairs API, which we have already built.
That took me 18 minutes to stand corrected. So there you go.
There's
some code
in GitHub code spaces. First, let's simply explore the API. To do that, I've set the breakpoint in the project already and started the
Visual Studio.
So let's switch over
for the web. Visual Studio Code for the web, excuse me.
Like you can see, the repairs API supports basic create, update, list, and delete operations on the repairs entity. Let's explore this. Let's go ahead and look for all the repairs assigned to a maintenance staff member.
Yeah, that's one of the interesting things you can do with VS Code is run it as a server
my project, and like
then
you can see,
access it on the web anywhere.
Is returned. And the response contains basic
This is how they're going to bring it to the iPad Pro if Apple would just get their Safari act together a little bit.
The description, the staff member to whom it's assigned to, and so on. That's it. This is a simple API which we are now ready to convert into a plugin for the Copilot. To do that, we're going to switch over to the Teams Toolkit extension, which is right here.
So she's taking an existing message extension and co-piloting it.
I'm going to say plugin for Copilot. I'm prompted to enter an open API spec.
Like Copilot, right? The plugin for Copilot.
Yeah.
I already have one created for our repair.
Silently contemplating this. We're asking it now to do something, and in the future, we'll just anticipate what we want.
It's AI all the way down.
API that I want to expose as operations in my plugin. I only want list and create repairs as the two operations that my plugin should support, so I'll select those. Of course, I need a project folder location and a project name itself, and we are ready to go. Now, the new project is being created and opened in this new browser tab. Now, a plugin has two key components. Number one is the manifest file that defines the plugin's basic configuration metadata. And number two are the adaptive cards, which define the UI using which users will interact with my plugin. Now, the cool thing here is using the open API spec, which we just referenced a few seconds ago, the Toolkit extension has already created both the manifest file and adaptive cards for me automatically. So let's click into each of them and explore. First, the manifest file. Like I said, the manifest defines the basic metadata and configuration about my plugin, like the plugin name,
JSON on your bingo board, you can mark that off.
And RESTful API also covered.
Now, plugins can also support authentication. So if your plugin supports auth, you can specify that in the manifest. Repairs API supports anonymous access, so I'll skip that step. Next, let's click into the adaptive cards. Like I said, adaptive cards define the UI using which users will interact with my plugin. Using the Repairs API response parameters, Teams Toolkit extension is already created adaptive cards for me, which of course I can change. For instance, I'd like for this thumbnail image of the repair ID, repairs item to be a bit larger. So I'll go ahead and make the change.
I like that the human component of this programming is so complicated.
Making it super
I'm going to change it from medium to large.
All right, so wait a couple of changes, and we are ready.
Made by ChatGPT and me.
We'll switch over to the debug.
Every size.
And say launch in Copilot. When I do that, Copilot will be open
the way a
in
kid
Microsoft
raises a
Teams,
dog.
and my plugin will be sideloaded.
Launching Copilot, launching Teams, launching Outlook.
So now we are ready to run a quick test.
So these are compatible across Microsoft 365 Teams and Copilot.
Teams, and I can go ahead and test with the prompt to fetch the repairs that are assigned to a maintenance staff member. When I do that, the repairs API that we just specified in the manifest is being invoked, and the response
That's pretty impressive,
from the API
actually.
is being
You can see the business application of this immediately.
And adaptive cards, which we designed in the toolkit.
Copilot might be, or Copilot-like capabilities might be what makes low-code, no-code start to make more sense.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
Awesome. So we just built a plugin using an existing API and have it already working in Copilot in Microsoft Teams. And we did all this with just a few steps in under 5 minutes. Go build these. Thank you.
But anyone who's tried no-code, low-code, it knows you hit that stumbling block where it doesn't do exactly what you want. And
now you got trouble because you don't know. Yeah, because you didn't write.
Resizing an image is cute, but I mean, if you actually had to make code changes.
To build a plugin is going to be a huge time save for the developers to extend the Copilot capabilities. We would love your feedback as you use the tool in the coming weeks. So we talked about extending it, at the cross-application layer. I want to now talk about extending the Copilot at the data tier. So the Microsoft Graph. Think about the Microsoft Graph as something that gets built and refreshed every single day from the trillions of signals that we get from customers as they use Microsoft 365. Every day, we see hundreds of billions of documents and messages. And so what the graph is, it's partitioned by customer, by tenant, because the graph belongs to the customer. And it is permissioned by user. So whatever I have access to is what the graph represents. So we take the Microsoft Graph And that is the brain behind the Copilot's amazing reasoning capability. So we take the graph, we ground the AI in all the user's context. And like I said, the security is, and the permissions are maintained because the graph represents exactly the individual's permissions.
According to Wikipedia, the U.S. government CISA recommends checking graph API permissions for threat actors as part of detecting post-compromise residual access. Just a little tip. And careful who you give access to the graph to. This really used to be called Office 365 Unified API, which I think really tells you a little bit more what it is than the phrase Microsoft Graph. It's an API cross.
They have to make it friendly. It's
cross-app API.
It's an aggregate of the data that you have to access in your own organization.
Yeah.
But this is a message to IT pros and system admins out there that you still have a job.
Right.
Right. We're going to need you for the permission stuff for sure.
Of course, a vector index. It's an embedding space for the billions and billions of entities in the graph.
It's not like AI could ever do that.
More than that.
Don't worry. It'll be
fine. It is an understanding of the relationships that exist in the graph. What do I mean by relationship? Every one of us, we work with colleagues. There are some meetings that really matter to us, some documents that are trending in our organization, the projects we care about, the tasks assigned to us. That is a relationship that's captured in the semantic index. That is what allows us to then take the natural language intent expressed by the user and get the most relevant data to go.
There are many reasons why today could be interesting. One of them is the stuff that they mentioned here that they didn't really mention before or only mentioned in passing. So for example, semantic index is mentioned in the book of news, which is 30,000 words or whatever, some huge thing. One time. Just one time. And it's at the end of a sentence. It just says developers will be able to extend Copilot by bringing their data to the graph, blah, 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 with the semantic index in preview. That's the extent of the documentation we got about this ahead of time.
Bill. I am Yina, and I lead the Microsoft Graph.
Here's Yina.
Team.
Yeah, this is the mother of the Microsoft Graph.
You have seen the power of plugins integrated with Copilot and how you can get started building them. We have also shown the value of building a Microsoft Graph connector to bring your data into the semantic index for Copilot, and message extensions to integrate seamlessly in Teams and Outlook. Now, I'm going to show you a scenario that illustrates how all of these things can work in Microsoft 365 Copilot together. In this demo, we're showing you how Daniela, who's a project manager at Dentsu, which is an integrated marketing and media company, might manage the process of updating the branding of a client's website. First, she uses Copilot to gather and summarize information about the website deployment guidelines. Second, she uses Copilot to invoke plugins in context. Here, she created a ticket in her project management tool and assigned it to someone on her team. And finally, she asked Copilot to retrieve and update a Contoso logo to the newly created project management ticket.
Oh, Contoso's back. I thought they had a new company name.
All of these happened on a snap. Yep. So consider how tedious would have been to do all of these manually. It requires multiple steps, aggregating information from multiple sources, and working across many different interfaces. With Copilot,
this really is a perfect application for AI.
The flow of work.
Because you've got the data set.
Let's take a closer look at what is really going on each step on this process.
I feel like this can be more accurate too, a lot more accurate than kind of general AI questions out in the world, right?
Here you're seeing the deep retrieval and
because you're working with a limited set of data.
Copilot.
And if it's properly structured and if the graph is working correctly, it should provide, you should have less worries about hallucinations or whatever.
Emails, Teams chats with colleagues, and more. But it is also traversing data from Confluence, using a Confluence Microsoft Graph connector, which is bringing index data from Confluence into Microsoft Graph.
Of course, is the Atlassian.
In addition to what Copilot extracted from Confluence, it also includes new steps in the process that were identified from email data, like the rollback plan, updating the logo, and the performance monitoring.
So this
Copilot
that little
returns a
disclaimer.
summary of all of the deployment guidelines.
We may be wrong.
For each relevant
This could be a lie.
Submit it to your boss, but yeah.
Now, because Copilot is powered by full semantic search, it was able to include steps in the deployment guidelines that otherwise might have been missed. Now, the second turn. Here's where we are invoking plugins in context.
They're really making me wait for the Windows stuff.
Dentsu uses Jira as their ticket management tool.
Again, the Atlassian tool. So they're really showing it's cross, not just in Microsoft 365.
Yeah, this is purposeful, right? Because they could have used something else.
Yeah, they've got similar products.
Using the context and information gathered in previous turns. It pre-populates several fields in like the project name and the summary. And it also includes a description based on the context it found on an email. No, but as helpful as Copilot may be, we still need to make a few edits, like adding the ticket owner. And then we're all set.
Every page has that AI-generated content. Don't trust this.
Copilot has already
I guess
it also seems like Amanda's doing a lot of the work.
Yeah.
Everything they generate here.
The reference to the newly created ticket.
The big thing was, I think, that text description, right?
Now,
that summary.
Third and final turn for
I
this
think
demo.
I'm really curious about this. They did that. You pull in a PDF or whatever on the Windows. It was the Windows Copilot, and it will give you a summary.
Yeah.
Summaries are a great idea. They're using it in the Microsoft Store, right?
Yeah.
Here's a summary of the reviews.
Message extensions. Using precise language in the prompt, like the example in the asset catalog, increases the fidelity of Copilot's response. When we have confirmed that Copilot has retrieved the right branding asset from this line of business tool, it is just a matter of telling Copilot to update the Jira ticket with the Contoso logo for reference. And Copilot does the rest. Finding the previously created ticket from the context.
That's pretty cool. It's natural language. It understands what she just asked for.
Populating the comments with a link to the logo file. Copilot then summarizes the changes to the Jira ticket.
It's going to be a while, though, before I think
the references to the artifacts.
We trust it. So in a way, there's more work initially because you're going to have to do it and then see if it did the right thing and verify it. But I guess eventually we'll trust it.
So to summarize, as a developer,
enough successes, right? Will change everyone's attitudes.
Data into the semantic index for Copilot.
But one mistake, and boy,
you can also use plugins and build
all confidence.
It worked great for Siri. I don't.
These plugins can be from the OpenAI standard, or they can be message extensions. And finally, Copilot can combine
Did you mean the
insights
Contoso logo or the TradeWinds logo?
Coming from the integrated
Copilot, is it raining?
multi-turn processes, boosting productivity and keeping customers in the flow of work, all while preserving the integrity of your app experiences and the attribution to its content. Thank you very much. Back to you, Rajesh.
Thank you, Ina.
Ina invented it, so she gets to take a victory lap. Ina Arenas, project manager.
What we just saw was how
Microsoft
by
Graph.
using the Microsoft Graph, you get the full power of the semantic index that we built. And we want developers to be able to take full advantage of our investments in Microsoft Graph and the semantic index.
What did you do before if you had this semantic, this graph? Did you use graph? I mean, how did you?
Yeah, well, it was tool specific, right? So one of the deals would be in Microsoft Outlook. You could say, well, I want to find someone in my organization who's an expert in whatever.
I see.
And it could give you a list of that kind of stuff.
I see.
But yeah, this interface opens this up because now it's natural language. It's kind of everywhere, basically, or it's where you are at least.
Now we're
Teams,
going
et
to
cetera.
unlock
So
that with natural language.
I think this is what AI really is. It's like the stuff, the data's all been there.
And
you know,
so
we've had the entire internet and we get search results, but this is if it works, the idea is you get this concise, here's exactly what you're looking for answer, whatever it is.
Rajesh. Good morning, everyone. In this demo, I'm Daniela, an account manager at a Datum, a renewable energy company. And I have an upcoming sales meeting with Relic Cloud. Let's see how easy it is for me to prepare for my meeting using the Viva Sales integration with
Juanita
Copilot.
Love.
Yeah.
Starting in Word, I use Copilot with Viva Sales to quickly assemble several relevant resources from my CRM system, my calendar, and Word documents from my company's OneDrive. Copilot then generates a summary document for me using the information
That's 3 different data sources, completely different types of data.
I notice a specific deal that looks relevant to my upcoming meeting. So I prompt Copilot for more details.
Tell me more, she said.
Copilot uses Viva Sales to retrieve a detailed summary of the deal and prompts me to add
the problem with this technology is that most people are going to choose the I'm feeling lucky route. They're just going to, go once and just submit.
Sounds good. I'll take it. Yeah, right.
Yep, it looks excellent. Is it 1,000 words? Good. Send it in.
I think it puts a burden now on management.
Yeah. Yep, just like it puts the burden on teachers now in schools.
Exactly. Yeah.
In real time, using Viva Sales, it's able to recognize that the customer has mentioned a competitor, Prosware, is also pitching to ReliCloud. Viva Sales prompts me to get more information on Prosware and quickly returns an analysis of its strengths and weaknesses. And when the
Copilot, how can we destroy Prosware?
Into how similar companies
I want to go after their children.
Datum technologies, I can prompt Copilot to pull up. It really comes down to,
this is valuable, and this kind of competitive research, everybody's done for years. But can you trust what you're getting from this AI compared to what you might get from an employee?
That's right.
Agree on
How good is the quality? What is the quality?
Including a formal proposal
Sure,
review.
it's fast. It's easy.
We're done.
I will say, I do feel like they've had several years to kind of hone the Microsoft Graph, and that AI in this case is a lot. Well, it's partially about kind of presenting it as in some UI, coming up with something.
It's still doing some synthesis, though. It's still saying, well, you should, here's a problem here.
Well, the natural language interface, right, which they started with the Cortana and other voice assistant type stuff.
Yeah, look how well that's worked.
That's a component of it. But yeah, I like I said, I feel like this has the chance to be more successful because it's private data.
Yes,
and,
I understand.
You're not working against the world's
data set. Yeah.
Library of data.
Contract with a 15% discount applied. I've attached a typical master agreement for reference, and when Kat receives my email, Copilot gives her the option to draft the requested contract in Word. And when Kat launches Word, Copilot already has the context it needs to assemble a draft. All Kat needs to do is hit generate. Kat's team
soon Kat won't even need to do that.
If that's all Kat's doing, I don't need a Kat.
That's what I'm talking about. They were in the room. Did they create it? I don't know. They were there. I clicked a button.
What does Kat do?
Yeah, Kat, can you explain your job to us exactly?
Well, I push the button.
Would you say you spend a lot of time clicking buttons, Kat?
Generated by Copilot for Word. For example, she can replace the limitation of liability clause.
Oh man, I really don't want Copilot writing that.
Changes are enforceable in California. Kat prompts Copilot to provide her with a summary of changes by clause for a quick review using Thomson Reuters Document Intelligence Service to quickly extract and compare modified clauses. With her review complete, Kat can now send the contract back to me for presentation to ReliCloud. Thank you. Back to you, Rajesh.
Thank you, Amrita. It's pretty cool to see how these sophisticated workflows are all happening in the application and developers adding to the, just the friction-free nature of completing these business processes. So in a similar vein, we've been working with partners like SAP, and there was this announcement last week of how SAP SuccessFactors is plugging into the Copilot inside of Microsoft Word using the Copilot extensibility. And so, for example, if I'm creating a job description, the data in the SAP SuccessFactors helps me create this. with all the right metadata, all the fine tuning made possible by the business logic and SAP SuccessFactors. So in a similar vein, I'm also very excited to announce the Microsoft Syntax plugin for the Copilot. For those of you who may not know, Microsoft Syntax is content AI. Every organization has tons and tons of content, whether it be in SharePoint or OneDrive or Teams and a bunch of other places. And so Microsoft Syntax is an AI tool that enables classification, that enables workflows that are possible on this content, unlocking the knowledge in an organization. And now that entire corpus is available as a plugin in Copilot, and that allows business processes to be grounded in the user's context in the plugin. So let's take a look.
This
the
seems like it's very specifically
makes it easy to add new content
piece.
as a column.
How do we find information in literal files?
From within Microsoft 365 Copilot. You can leverage the metadata to search and find relevant content with precision.
First, create the metadata.
Will enable you
Second,
to build new
use AI.
From structured templates, combining data sources and your own inputs. And review that new document, spotlighting key details. When you're done, the same plugin can add syntax e-signatures to your documents for your approval.
Sure.
All
Why
from
not?
within Microsoft 365 Copilot.
As soon as a human signs that, it's their fault.
So what we've seen so
Let the
far,
human sign it.
if I was to summarize the extensibility that we walked
But
through,
it really brings up this level, this issue of trust.
plugins.
Can I trust what I'm
whether
getting here?
these are ChatGPT style plugins, all you need is an open API. And
Then again, humans were doing this work, right?
Right,
I mean,
and probably not
making
very
mistakes
well.
all over the place.
Yeah.
And then we showed a toolkit, the team's toolkit.
You must have had
Finally, we
experiences
talked
in your
about
life where a lawyer handed you a document that they
graphic
edited, and you said, "Yeah, but what about this thing?" And they're like,
But
"Oh yeah, I didn't,
All the time. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's
What's
just
really important.
eventually
is to
this
enable your
will
success as developers. And we
be
really
better. I guess I don't know how else to say it. I mean,
I
it
worry
seems
about
like
an
this should-
avalanche of crap. I really do. I
It's
feel
not
like
just about the
because it's
productivity of
so
developers,
productive.
but it's about the impact
it's almost
of
too
the work
easy.
that
Yeah.
you do. How do we get you distribution and reach? How do we enable end user discovery of the work that you
And
do?
step 3,
And then
revenue.
you're an ISV, how do we help them monetize that? So let me just
Cue
give you
stock
an
footage of
example.
money falling from the sky.
On productivity, just as you saw in the demos today, we make it possible for you to create a plugin easily. You can customize the user experience with adaptive cards, and then you can debug and deploy this once and have it work in the host applications or as Copilot extensibility. Now, in terms of reach,
Turns out the gray
of course, in
goo
the
is
organization,
words.
IT has the
Lots of
accountability
words.
for
Yeah.
making sure any application is secure.
How do you feel
The
about
data
YAML
privacy
configuration files? Because you're going to be seeing a lot
A
of
lot of those.
You have to earn IT trust. And it's something that Microsoft, has spent a lot of time with IT on. And so our investments on reach really are to help developers to make their applications compliant. So what we have is a tool now that assesses and suggests remediation for your application to win IT trust. Based on feedback from developers, we've created a Microsoft 365 certification program. So we take a look at the controls that industry standard frameworks recommend, and we assess your application against that. And if you get the Microsoft 365 certification, that builds trust with IT and will speed up the deployment of your application. And for IT, we have invested in different views and badging and filtering so they can judge which application fits which role, what is the security profile of these apps. And the thing that we recently brought, which is a win-win-win.
A number of our advertisers are not happy to see this.
Win for end
This
user, win for
this automated
developers,
compliance is
is
scary.
this auto installation of these applications and extensibility. So if IT has trust in your application and they want to deploy that to some set of users, they can auto deploy it. So the user doesn't have to go one by one, go find the application and then deploy it. Reach is not enough. You have to get the end user to discover your application. Now, none of us go into work thinking, oh, let's install a new application. Usually what happens here is we go by the recommendation from our colleagues, from our leaders, and of course, IT's recommendations. And so what we are doing in the realm of discovery, of course, we first went and solidified, we were a little chaotic. We've got now one store experience in Office and Teams and Outlook where users can go discover applications and extensibility. The thing that we recently enabled that I'm very excited about is what we call seamless discovery with link unfurling. So if somebody sends me a message and I don't have the application installed that the message refers to, we go to schema.org and we can show you the experience even if the recipient doesn't have the application. This helps the virality of your apps. And then of course, we've made sure we've added user experiences to get the right application to surface in the right context. So for example, in Microsoft Teams, if you're on the meeting stage, you can go and figure out the relevant applications in meetings and bring that in. Same thing with channels and chat. And in terms of monetization for ISVs, we've created a commercial marketplace. So in ISV, you can figure out how to distribute your app at a regional level, at a department level, at a global level. And for IT, we've given them tools on how to manage users and licenses. So, taking a step back, what we've talked about today, and my call to action to all our developer colleagues here as we go forward together in this world of AI, go build Teams message extensions today, because these also act as Copilot extensibility. Take advantage of our investments in the semantic index and the Microsoft graph by annotating the graph with your data and metadata. And then give us feedback on the Teams plugin, which is really about streamlining your ability to build, debug, and deploy plugins. Now, we have several other exciting announcements beyond Copilot. I'm sure you've heard the word Copilot multiple times today, but we have other announcements. And so I really want you to encourage you to take a look at the breakouts and the demos for some other very exciting announcements, but there are two things I want to spend a few more minutes on. One is Teams Live Share, and the other is Microsoft Mesh. Now, Teams Live Share, what do you see here is Autodesk. Multiplayer Autodesk. This is an SDK that is now released, is generally available. This SDK is about bringing gaming quality.
Just in case it wasn't clear that Teams was a platform, run an app in a shared environment inside of Teams.
Yeah.
We've done the work.
A lot better than sharing your desktop.
For Excel Live.
Yeah, right. It's integrated right into the app.
The idea here is in a hybrid work.
Can I replace progman.exe with Teams.exe?
Don't you want your applications, when they are brought in the context of a meeting, to be co-created, co-edited, co-annotated, and that's what
we couldn't even collaborate in real time in Microsoft OneNote, but now you're telling me I can run Autodesk with multiple people and we can all edit that thing. Incredible.
Paul is still a little shell-shocked after years of trying to get OneNote working with Mary Jo.
It's about building.
I'm not saying it never worked, but I don't think it ever worked.
Now, you can create personalized avatars for Microsoft Teams.
Yes.
Your reactions.
By the way, let us not forget, please, that this thing, Mesh, was all of Build last year.
Is this that thing that we were doing the dancing and we were at the Burning Man?
It was the legless people floating around, remember?
Oh.
To be an immersive experience, to build stronger.
This was going to be the future until this was the future.
Didn't that guy get fired?
It doesn't matter if.
Yeah, but I mean, but they were, partnering with Face or Meta, right, on there with the Oculus. And Facebook has their own, I don't know what they call it, but probably Oculus for Work, whatever they call that stuff.
And the same technology is now available for you to build custom immersive experiences. Imagine
everybody who's ever tried this.
Employee onboarding.
Yep, doesn't like it.
Or some social gathering.
And I don't even understand the point, really.
Let's take a look.
Of legless meetings.
I believe I did something like this in 1996. Yeah, Microsoft promoted internet chat client thing where you floated around a planet, and with these 3D
Why is it better
avatars.
to have a cartoon person?
More comfortable and included.
More comfortable?
Digital presence a step further.
No, it's freaky.
Immersive spaces for teams help interactions feel more engaging.
I don't think that's more engaging.
Yeah, I know. Were you in a car crash? What's going on here?
But what if we could take it even further by building a custom immersive experience just for your organization? Microsoft Mesh elevates orientations.
I don't know any employee, any manager. I don't know anybody who wants to do this. I don't know. I don't know why they keep pushing this.
By transcending time and space.
I don't know. I know.
No matter where you
are. Apple in a couple of weeks is going to announce this headset.
Yeah. Maybe that's
think Microsoft will be part of this.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah,
I don't know.
You can swim with the fishes.
Hello, Richard.
Were you implying collaboration between Apple and anybody else?
Richard Campbell joining us.
It was a rhetorical question.
Well, that's really. I mean, I wonder if maybe that's why this is in here is a defensive measure. I guess whatever Apple announces in a week.
Place that your plugins will reach users. And that place has 1 billion users. And that is Windows.
Oh my God.
And to tell you more about that opportunity with Windows, let me invite Panos.
It's the future of Windows today.
We've traded Rajesh Jha for Panos Panay and Paul Thurrott for Rich Campbell. No, Paul's going to stick around.
My timing is amazing.
You really did a good job.
I love it. I love it when people get pumped about Windows.
Oh, there's the first item in the Windows bingo card. Pumped.
Me too.
Okay.
All right, I'm pumped also. I'm pumped to be here at Build. I'm honored. I have
Triple
to tell
pump.
you first, I just represent this incredible team of product makers. They're in Redmond. They're around the world. They're watching right now. Let me just say thank you for all you do, for all you put together. I'm grateful. And also thank you to everybody here. Thanks for being here today. It's awesome to be at a live event together. And for those of you online, welcome. It's an exciting day.
Where are your legs?
I think when you look at everything Rajesh talked about, just so amazing. It also happens to be an incredible time to be a developer, especially a developer on Windows. Now, we've talked a lot about AI. You've heard a lot about it.
Just to be clear, it means a developer using Windows. It's not a developer targeting Windows.
Shift of this generation. There is no doubt.
Well, that's a big distinction, actually.
Across industries, healthcare, finance, education, tech, even in your own homes, in our homes, the possibilities are endless. But we're moving so fast. Sometimes, every now and then, we can lose sight. What does it actually mean for us as people? What is that transformation for each of us? Now I'm going to do what I'm not supposed to do on stage. And
even he has no idea where he's going with this.
In a keynote, just so you know, when you ask a question, if people don't answer it, it's a terrible moment. So just stick with me. So true. Don't do it. You always lose your audience. But let me just say, how many of you remember the first time or the early days of the internet? All right, good. We got a lot of hands. That helps. You heard Rajesh talk about GUI and the transformation that started to come, but let me just shift it a little bit. I remember for me, and some of you, I'm looking out there, you're like, what do you mean? The internet's always been there. So I'm dating myself. I saw you. I'm like, oh, right. You were born in the internet. I got it. For me, I remember I wanted so bad to understand what it was. It seems crazy, right? Because it seems so obvious now, but I wanted so bad to understand what were people talking about. And I had this connection and it made these noises and it was this dial-up modem and I tried so hard to get on and I used this thing called Gopher. I was like, what is this? Why do people think it's good? Then I got my first job. I got to work and I had this thing, I think it was called DSL. This is great tech and now I have a connection.
Do you sometimes feel like this is the stuff we have to sit through to get to what he's going to tell us about?
Don't get me wrong, I did a little bit of work, but I
the
also
price you
remember
pay.
It's the price you pay.
Probably more than the actual work I was doing.
I blame Steve Jobs for this. The whole notion that a keynote has to somehow
storytelling,
be a revival meeting, and
the real reason to blame him is that no one else can really pull it off.
That's right.
Even then.
So he inspired a lot of bad imitations.
Bad imitations, yeah.
The opportunity felt so vast. It was almost impossible. It was impossible to comprehend. I think those first couple of weeks, I read the entire internet for sure. I read the whole ESPN catalog. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I read everything. But the level of knowledge at my fingertips, it felt transformational. It was transformational. Then came the advent of online dating, Wikipedia, social media.
Please, let's not.
The thing in your pocket.
It's going through the history of the internet.
That phone.
That thing in your pocket that we don't make.
Streaming, and it just goes and goes and goes.
Online dating with a thing in your pocket.
The feeling of possibility. I had never felt it before. I had never felt anything like it. And I haven't since until right now. Until right now with you. Until the advent of
I really think this act is wearing.
Are we dating? What happened?
That's in front of us.
I don't know.
You happy to see me, or is that a thing in your pocket?
The features or the models. It's about being part of, getting to witness and participate in something that will change.
Random slide.
I was going to say, this is what pops up.
Of how we live our lives.
That was a mistake. That has to have been.
We are there together.
There's a great connection to be made between the advent of the internet and the advent of AI, but it really is that AI is what makes the internet
devs out there and the
start to make sense.
To be. Some of you might just be getting started with AI, like me when I was trying to figure out the internet. Or you might not know where to start.
What's going on with the toes of his sneakers?
Or you're looking at me and you're thinking, I've been creating AI models for a year. I'm the expert.
Do you feel like a legless avatar would be superior in this one?
No matter where you are.
He's wearing, I got to ask Christina
what
he's wearing.
No matter where you are on that journey, this presentation is about Microsoft and Windows being there for you.
They show his shoes again. Take a look.
See, I look at technology.
It looks like the front of those boats they used to storm
they've
Normandy.
got a prow.
Or a wall or a fence.
They're like squared off.
You don't go from the ground straight to the top.
And they go up, see?
Yep.
You have to take steps along the way.
What is that?
Windows will give you the tools. The tools each of us needs. And in this room, to be the wave makers, the creators, the pioneers of this next generation of technology, to empower yourself, to empower your customers, change the world. And by the end of this keynote, you're going to see a few things. You're going to see how you can increase your engagement and ability to serve customers with the all-new Windows Copilot and AI plugins. Shilpa's going to come out here. She's going to show you how we're accelerating your ability to build seamless workflows on Windows 11. You're going to see Dev Home, Microsoft Store, widgets, other innovations we just released. I don't know if you saw this, but we just released a full build of Windows yesterday. It's so exciting. We're not going to talk in great depth of it today. Shilpa will hit some of it, but get in there, read the blog. It's crazy cool. It's crazy cool.
They did.
Then Pavan's going to come out
that's
here.
True.
And I really want you to hone in here. He's going to talk to you about how Windows is fundamentally, and you will see it, the absolute.
If you search Panos Panay and sneakers, there's quite a few images of various sneakers.
For AI,
he's become a sneaker guy.
and is the home
I blame Christina
for
Warren.
every one of your high ambition
I blame Ted Lasso.
AI-powered apps from edge compute and OSS models coming together. And you heard Kevin yesterday. He really nailed this. Pavan will bring that together for you. Then Stevie will come out and show you innovation and how it's not slowing down. And if you are on Windows 11, whether you're building on it, using it, it is what will keep you ready for what is coming next as we pioneer our way through this opportunity together. Okay, let's jump into Copilot.
That was singularly content free.
I'm going to come down here. I have to share.
It's a long time for nothing.
Nothing. I do want to know more about the sneakers, though.
You know, we've been working on this for a while.
You might have
get
found
asked all
them.
the time. And when you work on details for a long time,
It's like a prop comic.
You're a little bit too close. And so regardless of what it is, regardless if it's a pixel on the screen or one of the hundreds of scenarios we have for the Copilot coming forward for you, you look at it,
dark shadow sneakers,
try and get it right. How you doing?
Chuck 70s.
But fundamentally, you then want to tell the story as best you can.
Thank you. Thank you, Anthony Nielsen. I don't know how you found
video. We built it with bits. We then record them. We then render them. We try and bring them as perfect. I've watched this video at least 1,000 times. I've edited it. I've seen it.
Good job, Ty.
But I haven't seen it the way you've seen it. So
next, I'm going to crowd surf,
and I'm going to watch it with you because this feels awesome.
What's he doing out there? Get back on the stage.
Do it together. This is what Satya showed you yesterday.
We are at Build and covering the second day keynote with Paul Thurrott and Rich Campbell. We'll go right into Windows Weekly right after. Our show day brought to you by ACI Learning. 94% of CIOs and CISOs agree attracting and retaining talent is becoming increasingly critical to their roles. 30% of ACI learners are MSPs. Isn't that cool? That's probably, these are people who own their own businesses. They love technology. That's why they're MSPs. Check out this testimonial from a happy MSP team leader. I had 110 engineers in the field. We had dozens of IT pro accounts. Last year alone, they passed over 40 certs. Wouldn't you like that for your team? Practice labs, perfect for MSPs to test and experiment before deploying new apps or updates, all without compromising your live system. It's just one of the many features ACI Learning brings to IT Pro. It's a great team. Fill out the form at go.acilearning.com/twit to get more information on a free 2-week trial for your team. We go back to the video of Windows. Have you learned anything, Paul and Richard, from this?
I think this is the video they ran yesterday.
Oh, so he's literally replaying the video from yesterday.
Okay.
He took 12 minutes to introduce the video they ran yesterday.
Okay, and now content.
All right.
Look at those Chuck 70s.
He amped up the pressure on the audience by stepping out there. They were all coasting.
I'm going to frame back again.
Some of them were sleeping.
You saw, but I want to talk about them a little bit differently. I want you to come along with me on this journey.
All right, everybody, get up.
Yesterday, Yusuf had showed you the demo that was in the video, but there was a lot of purpose to why we picked that, and I want to just share a few small things with you as we look at it together, and I'll show you a few new things, but let's take a look at this really quick. So the first thing to understand is I get asked a lot. It probably seems super obvious in this room. You know how to get to AI. You know how to get to Bing. You know how to invoke ChatGPT. Of course you do. But not everybody does. They hear about it. They've heard about the internet. So what's the first thing we do? We bring AI front and center to everybody. For you, think of this as a platform, a funnel for all those plugins that you can bring forward, the 2 days of plugin palooza that you got, the opportunity to take those and bring them to 1 billion people. So we put Copilot right there on the taskbar, just simple, important, and it comes there. And you heard Satya say it yesterday, every user is a power user. You start to see that, where you can talk to Copilot, ask it what you need. Think about 30 years of history in settings and the understanding of a platform and the power of being able to just say, make it easier for me, and dark mode shows up because it's easier on your eyes. You may not even know that dark mode existed. Cracks me up when everybody applauded yesterday for dark mode. That was rad.
People don't know that copy and paste exists.
I think the people in this room know dark mode exists.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think we need dark mode for those shoes.
About any setting within Windows.
Holy cow.
But people don't think of it as settings.
I like the shadow of the Steadicam operator.
Mm-hmm. I need
that's
to
cool. That's a godlike
to the TV.
Image for Panos, which he probably
right. That's a power user move on Windows.
Why is he out there in the middle?
Just write it down and watch it happen.
I think he might have lost this audience by now if he didn't seriously wake them up by walking amongst them.
In the bottom right corner here, you can see Copilot talking
it's not good.
to you. Not you thinking about
I think engineers don't appreciate this kind of thing.
This is where the plugin can just...
There's an element of this that feels like, I forgot to write my keynote. What can I recap?
Yes.
I was literally thinking, hey, Panos, did you want to practice for tomorrow's keynote? He's like, no, I got it.
Would you like to listen to some music? Yes. The plugin shows up. It makes a suggestion. You pick chill
Is there
vibes.
literally
I would
anything
never
that's
pick
occurred
chill
that we
vibes,
didn't
but somebody
see
does.
yesterday?
No.
But here's the
And
better
really,
part.
honestly, do we need a deep dive into how Copilot chooses your
how Spotify can come up?
Is important.
I need chill music for my coding session.
Windows recognizes you've made a mess. Let me help you organize your windows. You don't have to find Snap, although a lot of you do. You don't have to wonder how. It'll just offer it. And it cleans up your desktop. This is speed.
These people aren't even, this guy's not even looking at him. He's like,
no, this is not the right talk for this audience.
Okay.
This is
no, you got a bunch of
consumers who don't know what they're doing.
And even consumers aren't going to go crazy on this.
All right. In this case,
Right.
I'll select the config. But watch what happens when I do. It'll copy it. It'll drop it there in Copilot for you, and then simply ask you, after you decide to give it to Copilot, what do you want to do with this text? You clearly copied it. So for me, I've always dreamed of being a dev. Don't worry, I practice, I try, but I'll never be able to claim I am one. But I will tell you, the idea here where I can get the config and just ask it to explain to me the time it saves me and what it might mean for you. Now think about this on third-party applications. Think about it on anything that sits on your desktop today. What
You guys
could you
thinking
do
about being
with
an
it?
Apple developer?
I'm giving you the most simple of demos, but it's powerful. Unpack that thought and
He's like,
work
when's
through it. It's really
WWDC?
kind of cool, isn't it?
Do I still have time
Now
to?
go to the audio
What would you
files.
pay for
I
a good
record
tackle
voice
right now? That'd be nice.
myself all the time. I know that sounds weird, but
Let's
I
get a
do
soccer
talk to
hooligan
myself.
in there
The
now.
best way to capture what I'm saying is just to listen to myself.
Steve Jobs
later, and
ever
I
walked
can't
into the
stand
audience
my
and
own
sat down
voice,
next to
everybody else
somebody?
like that.
No.
But I will listen to it. But here's what's beautiful.
Most he ever
Just
do was
grab the
call
file,
Phil Schiller in
drag
the
it
audience, sitting
over,
down.
Make a decision that you
It's the
just want
closest
to
he ever got to
hear
the
it
audience.
Never got to the
translate for
audience.
you, transcribe for you, and just like that, you're saving time.
I want
only
to be
put
really
this demo
clear about
because
this.
is
I don't want to sit here and make fun of this guy. I want this to be interesting and relevant.
Yeah.
There's so much to
me
talk
and to
about,
this
right?
audience, and I just don't understand what
great.
this
This is
is.
going to be perfect for my father when he drags over a note, a voice note, or even a video in the future, and he wants to translate it into Greek. He's going to do so. The power of that, the speed of that, the possibility is endless. Okay, I want to take you to this last demo, and it's probably the most important one to catch the nuances on, so I'm going to walk you through what's happening. You can see Microsoft Word here, no doubt.
It's a nice stage setup with those screens going all the way across.
And you've heard a lot about plugins. You saw the Spotify demo. That was an important demo to just understand. Yusuf showed it yesterday. You just saw it here. That plugin showed up. It made sense. But here's another. This one's near and dear to my heart.
This is
how
also
you move
exactly from
creatives into their
yesterday.
flow.
No,
If you're thinking about the funnel
Word art.
and the opportunity that you have to the billion users on Windows, the billion plus users on Windows, what can happen here? What
So
you will
this
see
was
is when
Microsoft
the user says, help
Designer,
me
right? Is that what
generate
this
a
is?
logo, it literally brings up Adobe Express there in Copilot and say, click
Adobe
here,
Express.
let me take you through.
which is
Pause,
Microsoft Designer.
Understand that.
Yeah.
Copilot brings you a plugin and just keeps you in your flow and you're creating. When you're done creating it, you drag it back into the chat and then you can share it with all of your friends. The steps of opening, closing, removing, they all go away. When we say we're going to help you do things differently, that AI reinvents everything on Windows, this, what you're looking at, is just the beginning. There is so much power here. If you think about plugins with ChatGPT and Bing, what you heard yesterday, Windows is your platform for high ambition AI apps. It's sitting right in front of us.
We
Okay.
all have a red buzzer on our desk so
You're
that when
gonna get a
something
ton
happens
more
that
here.
didn't
Just
happen
few
yesterday,
moments
we can
from
try to
Pavan. How do
race
you
to
do
be the
it? How do
first
you
to
build it? How do we get into it? But let me
identify it.
It's new.
Windows Copilot. Previews in June. So we're a month away. For those of you who can
gonna
get on
feel
it,
like
let me
3
just-
years at this
Let me
rate.
just make an ask.
Previews in June
Go
to me
get it
means
in
October.
preview.
Means
We're going to learn together.
23H2, right?
I say that from a true point of humility. We don't understand everything yet, But boy, do I know it
just release
changed
a
your
new build
workflow.
as we were speaking,
Do I
by the way.
understand for sure the opportunity that's in front of you to bring those high ambition apps to Windows, to have that AI experience, that interjection, and we'll evolve together. What did you guys think?
What? What?
I'm sorry. What? He asked a question.
What?
What's happening?
Is
All right,
that
let's,
high ambition thing new?
Let's talk a little bit.
There's low ambition apps. Is that what there is?
Yeah,
that are on Windows.
that's all.
Windows 11. Look, it's not just
low
about
ambition apps.
Low ambition, like Excel.
Low ambition, no ambition apps. It's like low code, no code.
It's such an important platform. When we announced Windows 11 nearly 2 years ago, 2 years ago was an announcement right about this time. It was exciting. You've been so gracious. You've helped us build this platform. We have more people at speed getting on this platform than ever before on any version of Windows, choosing it. I'm so proud of it. The usage is growing. The engagement is up. We love it. There's no question. But this growth, it extends first to developers.
Developer monthly active device growth year over year. What does that even mean? That's too many words.
4%.
I assume that means developers using Windows.
Devices. That means you
as their dev box.
More of you developing. And some of this growth is driven by an increase in segments like Python developers, which is
but
cool.
again,
It also
not to be a
points
jerk about it. He's not talking about people targeting Windows, right? He's talking about
on
people
Windows.
using Windows.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's WS. That's got to be WSL, right?
That the role that
well, it's every Visual Studio Code, right? It's web apps. It's
more integrated into our lives than ever before. Windows 11 has created a little bit of a transformation for each of us. The PC became the place to connect, play, work. And we also know there's no limit to what you can do from local compute to cloud compute. And as you listen to Stevie and Pavan talk about that hybrid architecture, which is coming, so sweet, there's no limit. But then you look and you go, there's apps like Spotify, Snapchat, Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, so many more that have recently come to the Windows Store. That increase, and you'll hear from Shilpa, has been awesome.
If only these apps were available on the mobile devices people actually use.
And you have to understand, these apps,
these apps,
I know they seem
these apps here?
obvious.
Yeah.
What was I saying?
Yeah.
If you took the pauses out of his speech, it would be 7 minutes long.
Mobile apps only 2 years. Only mobile apps 2 years ago. I mean, it's incredible. Sophia, she's 17.
Again with the kids.
Her in a few days. She's traveling. I miss her.
Here's a video I took when she wasn't watching.
She uses these apps on her PC every day. I'm blown away. I mean, I love it, but I'm blown away. It's so powerful. You can
She's
keep your
the
phone
only
in your
person in her peer group who uses Windows.
And you stay in your flow.
She's mocked incessantly
Yeah.
being a Windows user.
And now, the advent of AI is only making that stronger, faster, more opportunity. WhatsApp's my favorite example, so I want to share it with you. It's they created an amazing Windows app.
I'm going to make an educated guess here that the original plan was not to include any Windows content yesterday,
the number one app on the
and that this was going to be the first time this stuff was
I use it
announced.
for my fantasy baseball league.
It has to be because Leo, you and I went back about and forth about the schedule. Remember? And
it seemed to be changing.
Originally there was going to be a Windows embargo for today, but they put it all on day one at last minute.
What's happening with WhatsApp on Windows?
I wonder why.
I don't know, but that's what this feels like. They didn't have time to do anything new on day two. I mean, I think there will be some other stuff. He talked about Stevie and hybrid, and that's going to be the local plus cloud-based AI stuff that's happening through MPUs, right? So that should be interesting.
We're always investing in new experiences.
But yeah, this whole thing is a recap of yesterday.
Yeah,
to create an amazing WhatsApp experience on large screens. Our users deserve the best experience of WhatsApp across every device and platform, especially the more than 1 billion Windows devices. So, after years of development, we are thrilled to now have brought the first native desktop companion application to our users. And on new Windows 11 PCs, you can easily find it in the start menu.
Conspicuously did not offer this on the Mac.
It was built from the ground up using native technologies recommended by and in close collaboration with Microsoft.
I mean, admittedly, smartphones have gotten pretty big. You might as well use your laptop.
Significantly improved performance and reliability, benefiting from reduced battery, CPU, and RAM usage.
Developers who listen to Spotify have seen a 7% increase in productivity when they're programming.
The app does not require you to stay tethered to the mobile app after authentication. So you can use WhatsApp.
Was that a character from Star Trek? What was that?
Other exciting
what just happened?
Group calling are now available. People can connect with their friends and family through 8-person video calls and 32-person audio calls. And best of all of this is backed by end-to-end encryption. So your personal messages and calls remain truly private. We're working with Panos and the team to deploy cutting-edge technology that will make the WhatsApp experience on Windows truly remarkable. For example, we're using ARM64 architecture to enhance app performance while minimizing power usage. We're also leveraging Windows Studio Effects, which run AI models on the neural processing unit
for Windows
to create the best
Is it not available on Intel?
I mean,
users are going to
both of these features require you to have an ARM-based PC right now.
Blur and noise suppression. We're excited to continue collaborating with Microsoft to innovate for the future of private communication. Back to you,
Thanks,
Panos.
Will.
I think the big thing he said there is we've made a version of WhatsApp for PC that isn't Electron.
Before we move on, I want to acknowledge something. When I first took on Windows, I must tell you, the most passionate group that gave me feedback, it was devs. As a matter of fact, funny enough, as I was walking through the aisle, I saw a few of you. You had actually sent me PowerPoints with every single detail of what needed to be changed in Windows. It was pretty awesome. It doesn't stop. Now,
you must love my website then, because that's my entire career.
It's my best way.
Jeez, I love that you love that feedback. You seem to ignore it. Am I missing something?
Listening, it's so important.
I only said I loved it. Didn't say I was going to do anything with it.
Yeah. I love your passion.
UI to foundational OS changes, like the new file system optimized for developer workloads. You continue to push us for better experiences, whether it's across terminal, WSL, GitHub integration, and yesterday you saw another response to that in Microsoft DevBox. But today, we want to bring you the best Windows development experience yet. We want to build a home for devs. So we did.
How about an old age home for
Dev Home.
devs? The Dev Home. They put some effort into that. This new site?
The Dev Home?
Yeah.
No, it's an app.
Okay.
For Windows 11. It's basically a dashboard.
Contoso chat. That's Teams, I guess. Yes.
No, this is the app.
The whole thing it's got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Step up.
Yeah, there's a GitHub component to it. There's an app install component. There's a widget component. What does this mean? I mean, I used to have to Google that. Those kind of efficiencies are nice. I don't know. That's just GitHub Copilot, though. I don't understand what that has to do with. What is it?
All right, we got a lot of exciting stuff to cover from here on out. Shilpa, an incredible product maker, a dear friend of mine, and absolutely one of the leaders in Windows, is going to come out here and take you through every single detail, including the latest release of Windows. Shilpa?
The latest release of Windows. I assume they mean the Moment 3 release, unfortunately.
Good morning, everyone. It's great to see everyone in person after so long. Okay, so let's get into it. When developers asked us to support Bash on Windows, we knew that meant making Linux a first-class environment with WSL. When developers asked for a modern command line experience, we created one of the most popular projects on GitHub in Windows Terminal. And when power users wanted more flexibility to customize Windows, we launched Power Toys.
And when users said they wanted the taskbar on the top of the screen, we said no.
Community-supported project on GitHub. You were right on all counts. And when I say you, I'm referring to you, Windows developers. We love it when our developers give us feedback on how we can make Windows the best place to create software. And the best part, we're still listening. We've heard from you that it takes too much time and too many clicks to set up Windows for coding. We've heard that disk performance slows down your inner loop productivity. And we've also heard that the Windows experience should have more options for power users.
This thing that you only have to do once is apparently such a huge problem. We decided to address that.
Now, as you saw in the video, we are really excited to introduce Dev Home, a brand new experience in Windows to help developers quickly get productive and stay in the flow. And we know that when you're coding on Windows, you're working in an ecosystem of both local and remote services. DevHome will make it easy to connect to GitHub and set up your machine to code for the repos you care about, easily installing all the tools and packages you need to get running. And once you've connected to GitHub, all your surfaces across Windows
I wonder if this is a WinGet front end, that part of it.
Oh, interesting.
All the way from File Explorer to Windows Terminal. DevHome can also configure your coding environments in the cloud using both DevBox and GitHub code spaces. The DevHome setup experience
As someone who's spent about 8 years tweaking my Emacs setup, I really just don't approve of this automated setup stuff.
Define a dev environment in a single file and apply it to your local system, to your code spaces, and to your DevBox with a single click. Oh, thank you. That's great.
Yeah, so WinGet configuration is like a YAML-based configuration file because we needed yet another version of XML for some reason. But I guess it must be a standard. I think other companies or products use it for configuration. Yeah.
You know, if you're a developer, having a reproducible build that you can take to other machines is very nice.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's right. And that's kind of the point. Like when you said that thing about Emacs, I was thinking to myself, of course, what you probably have is a script that
I have a dot file.
This.
Yeah, save it.
DevDrive is based on the resilient file system, and it's combined with a new performance mode capability in Microsoft Defender antivirus. So DevDrive will yield up to 30% improvement in build times over.
If there's a performance mode capability, why don't we just use that everywhere? What are you talking about? Like it's like we're gonna have a turbo button. So if you really want to turn up the speed, it's like when do I not want to turn up the speed? What are you talking about?
Spend creating value for your customers.
I need to get a cup of coffee. Can you compile it
like my computer to idle and do nothing?
Removing distractions with our dashboard feature. The dashboard is a customizable surface that provides a glanceable overview of
that DevDrive, by the way, is REFS, which came up out of the Windows 8 group back in the day and was going to replace NTFS and never did, but they're working on it again.
It's fast, huh?
Track your tasks.
It's resilient.
Now, this dashboard we're showing you is extensible. In fact, we're collaborating with Team Xbox to bring the GDK to DevHome to make it really easy to get started with dev creation. And because DevHome is open source, you can contribute to and extend this dashboard
Open
as well.
sports?
Now, this holiday, everyone will have DevHome in Windows. But you right now can get DevHome in preview from the Microsoft Store today.
So they use REFS on server, right? I wonder why they don't use it on PCs.
I'm going to switch gears a little bit now and talk about all the improvements we're bringing to Windows 11 to increase your efficiency and productivity. Now, these will start rolling out to our Windows Insider program.
Explain what Panos said earlier. They are, in fact, releasing the preview version of Moment 3 today. So that's usually it would have happened tomorrow. Remember, week D. It's actually happening today.
Formats. We also have the ability to easily end a task from taskbar without opening the task manager. Yes.
What did she say that made them so excited?
For that thing that they took out and then were forced to put back in.
And access every single instance of each app with just a single click. Windows Terminal will also now have taskbar.
Remember how we completely screwed up the taskbar? Well, we're fixing it slowly.
You're welcome.
Standing ovation.
Exactly.
Yep, we did it.
Must have been in that PowerPoint they sent.
Mission accomplished. The next build will be on the top of a battleship in the
I'm really excited
Indian Ocean somewhere.
Windows Terminal is getting smarter with GitHub.
I like this Copilot in Terminal. I like that.
This brings the power of AI to your command line, making it
I think this is what they showed earlier when he said, what does this mean? And they gave him the code, the code. Right. They gave him the command line he needed to fix that problem.
Right. That's very cool.
Must be what that was. Yeah. That's very good.
To get access to the new Copilot features in Terminal, please sign up for the waitlist on GitHub. Okay, so now you've used DevHome to be productive and you've built a great app. So let's talk about how we can help you acquire and engage customers with your app.
So we're moving on.
Today we have a new release for Windows 11. I know this week has been fantastic. There's several improvements in here. I'm going to touch upon the widgets board, which enables quick, glanceable content for customers in Windows. Now, if you
There's only one feature anyone wants from this widgets board. And that is the ability to turn off the feed.
Support for third-party widgets on the board, including new experiences from Meta, Microsoft, and Spotify. Now, the biggest feedback we heard was the desire to customize the content on this widget board. So as part of the latest release, the board will now have a larger surface area and a dedicated space for widgets.
First thing is an ad.
It is literally the opposite of what I just asked for.
Later this year, we will have additional board layouts.
Yeah, it's top and center.
Tune the board so you can display widgets only, the newsfeed
like the George Costanza opposite day thing. Like
the board will also have space for recommended widgets, and we've added on-install and banner alerts so we can make new widgets easier to discover. We're really excited to make widgets great.
But there's
for
no
customers
button on the
to stay
ads.
On
Those
top
don't
of what
go away.
matters to them the most.
2 years after they introduced widgets, they're really excited and making it great.
So many new features today. Now, I would love for you to get a chance to build your widget and have it reach millions of customers. So we've talked about how we can help acquire more customers for your app. Now let's talk about retention. Today, for the top 100 apps on Windows, we see a 40% retention after a user sets up a brand new PC. Now, I want to make sure you can retain your customers even if they choose to switch to new devices. So Windows is making it easier than ever with your improved restore experience. So as soon as a user sets up a brand new PC, they will automatically land on a desktop. This will include all of their store apps right where they need them.
That doesn't go that fast.
And it's on the start menu as well as on the taskbar. This new capability.
Remember when we took away settings sync?
Yes.
We're bringing it
no
back,
sense
sort
in
of.
losing customers when they set up new devices. So we're happy to have this capability roll out in preview starting today in Windows Insiders. Now, we just talked about
All right, so
widgets,
again, I think this is an October feature. She's talking about 23H2.
Picture by sharing what's new with the Microsoft Store on Windows. Now, in the last 12 months, the Microsoft Store has had over 1 billion unique visitors. Now, what is really energizing is that Windows 11 users are really engaged with our store. They come at nearly twice the rate of Windows 10 users. And we're really proud of our open store principles, allowing developers
why would that
to bring
be?
any app
When
type
asked.
with industry-leading revenue share. And this has led to outstanding success. We've seen double the amount of apps since Windows 11 launched, and more Android apps as well. And if you're around, we have an on-demand session for the Windows
Speaking of
subsystem
which,
for Android.
the claim last October was 50,000 Android apps, and you can open up the App Store for Android and look at the 157 apps that are still there and wonder what happened to that.
They're still using Amazon's store for that?
Yeah.
That's the problem
so next
right
month,
there.
we're going to be expanding Microsoft Store ads to 150 regions.
These guys need to suck it up and pay the play, store
So
bill
now
or whatever.
we begin the next chapter
License
for
it
the
from
Microsoft
Google.
Store on Windows. As we embark
Google's
on leveraging
doing all their
AI
apps for
to
big
help
screens
you be more
now. Those apps
productive,
work great on Windows.
expand your ability to reach
That's what
your
people want.
customers. We're introducing a new feature called AI-generated review summary. What this does is summarizes thousands of
This is
app
what you were
reviews
talking
into
about.
a few sentences.
Yeah, it's a good
making
idea.
it easier than ever for your fans.
This app, this is something like this in Google Maps. If you look at a review, it will say customers said ... and there'll be little pull quotes here and there.
Now, one of the biggest challenges in getting your app discovered is
this kind of thing is smart.
search terms. Let me show you how AI-generated keywords will recommend which keywords you should be using based on AI insights that are uniquely available in the Microsoft Store. And I'm really excited to share that we will soon be introducing the new AI Hub in the Microsoft Store in the coming months. It's a space that will showcase the best of AI apps for our customers. It will educate customers on how to get started in their AI journey and inspire them to use AI as part of their everyday workflow. Now, you heard me about increasing your productivity with Dev Home, leveraging widgets, getting your app restore experiences so that you can engage and retain your customers. And now you can take advantage of AI Hub to enhance your app with AI in the store. You're about to hear Pavan Davaluri share more about the tools that can help you build your AI-powered app and have it show up here in the AI Hub. Please welcome my friend and colleague, Pavan. Thank you.
Thank you, Shilpa. That was fantastic. Thank you. That was amazing. It's really exciting to be here with all of you here today. Yesterday, Kevin shared that Windows is the best client for AI development. And as we just heard from Panos and Shilpa, there are more developers now on Windows than ever before. I'm here to show you how AI can work for every developer here, whether you're just getting started with AI or you're really wanting to take it to the max. Here's what you're going to hear today. If AI is new to you, Windows can get you started with inbox models and APIs. If you're wanting to center your apps and experiences around new AI features, we have Onyx Runtime to help you take it to the next level. And if you're really ready to take AI to the limit, optimize your models, create differentiated experiences. Wow. We make that easier than ever with Onyx Runtime, the Olive toolchain, and of course, the hybrid loop. Now, I want to talk to those of you who are just maybe getting started or even don't know where to get started. If you're on Windows 11,
that's just about everybody.
We have AI models for you to integrate into your apps right now. No heavy lift, no extra work. You know the Windows Studio effects you saw earlier in Will's keynote? The WhatsApp team was able to integrate those with just a small shift in settings. And you can
only works on our machines.
Which is weird.
Windows AI Live.
Well, the only PCs that have MPUs.
Oh,
okay. Inbox models and APIs.
I get it.
It will change. I get it. But from right now, that's it. It's basically 3 computers.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Surface Pro 9.
Surface Pro 9, yep. There's a ThinkPad 13 X13S, I think is the name. And then whatever that, what's the Windows dev box that they made, the thing that looks like a Mac Mini, whatever that, Project Voltaire, whatever the final name of that is.
Camo is an app that enables any camera to produce incredible video. And you're going to see how they've used Onyx Runtime, Windows devices, and modern silicon. Aiden from the
But this is why this MPU stuff can't happen quickly enough.
Thank you, Pavan.
This has to go mainstream.
Gives you more than great video quality. It also adds next-gen effects like spotlight, AI auto framing, beautiful bokeh, privacy mode, color grading,
and it requires modern silicon.
These features are great for content creators of all types.
Trying to find a way to sell new PCs and laptops.
Live streaming. And we're not done making Camo the best third-party native Windows app. With the advent of NPUs on Windows, our roadmap's got even
nice
more
Surface
ambitious.
Pro box on his shelf.
I'd love to show a sneak preview.
Camo, of course, started on the Mac and it's an Apple Silicon app.
Camo's
so it makes sense.
Is a visible and natural way to signal a reaction when you're on a video call or stream.
I like Camo a lot, actually.
Perhaps you want to politely interject with an idea. Lift an index finger and a light bulb appears. Or raise a hand.
We're going to assume that was an index finger.
And when you need to drop, peace out. How's this for a hand wavy demo?
Really?
Obviously, there's a lot of
I don't get it.
This is going to ruin YouTube.
You use this once in a meeting, and nobody will ever take you seriously again.
This is like when desktop publishing happened, and every document was a ransom note. You know,
it's animated emojis.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
In an app like Camo, we need to use as little resource as possible. Because when users are live streaming games on Twitch or presenting in Teams, we can't afford for them to see dropped frames, reduced performance, or jumpy video. In fact, the only way Camo can run the emoji hand models in a performant way today is by combining the power of a PC with an attached phone. But thanks to the NPU, Camo can now afford to do much deeper image analysis on every frame of live video, using any camera or webcam. All this without touching the CPU or the GPU. So it's not just much faster, but it helps overall system performance and battery life too. We're confident there's a lot of great things we can build using the Onyx runtime and the new Olive toolchain. You'll be able to check out emoji hands and other great additions later this year when we ship Camo with NPU support on Windows 11.
NPU support, interesting.
Yeah, so it requires
it's great to see
an
the
ARM
Camo
processor.
Yeah, of course.
Democratize amazing video experiences through AI.
Kind of downplaying
Cassie Brevu from the Onyx Runtime.
I guess the developer.
Well, that's they with Windows Studio Effects, it's like asterisk, guys. No one has this,
right?
It's a feature that's in Windows, but nobody has it.
You need Onyx Runtime, the Olive toolchain, and the hybrid loop. This is a great way for you to optimize your models and create performances and experiences that are tailored for your customers. Cassie, super happy you're here today. Glad you could join us.
Thank you.
They missed the obvious opportunity. I don't want to put emojis on my screen. I'll put emojis on your screen.
That's in V2.
Which makes it straightforward to deploy and run your AI models on any platform, including the web.
Can you tell us a little bit more about what that means?
Yeah, so Onyx does all the heavy lifting of dealing with diverse platforms and hardware, freeing developers up to focus on delivering delightful AI-enabled solutions. And Onyx Runtime also enables you to target the cloud, which we'll talk about later.
Android, Linux,
That's
iOS,
fantastic.
and Windows.
Yeah, it runs everywhere.
This is the same development pattern and set of tools we use internally at Microsoft for our apps like Office, Edge, and Teams. And this really inspires us to build the best product we can before we share it with you. Now, if I'm a dev who really wants to optimize performance of my models, I'm going to be targeting the rich and diverse Windows ecosystem. And That can be a lot of work.
If they were going to do a hardware giveaway this year, and they should have, it should have been Surface 9 5Gs, just so people could, Surface Pro 9s, right? Just so people could experience the NPU stuff.
From hardware to data processing to inferencing in multiple languages. If you're just dipping your toes in this space, Olive has walkthroughs to get you started. If you're a data scientist that has been creating and optimizing models manually, Olive simplifies your workflow so you can focus on fine-tuning your model.
Okay, to summarize, Onyx runtimes help you run across platforms, and the Olive toolchain really streamlines your workflows. Let me tell you just a quick story about how Olive came about. Devs and data scientists at Microsoft working on models were dealing with the same model optimization complexity, I want to say about a year ago or so. And this last year, I think they just sort of threw a fit and they were like, this is just stupidly complex. We have to simplify this. And so it was Yuan on the AI platform team and Stevie who led this effort to go solve the problem. And that's
they keep talking around Stevie Batish, right? So Stevie works with Panos. He's a hardware guy. He did a lot of the big Surface product designs.
And show you the results.
But
we'll use Stable Diffusion
I believe since Panos has moved over to Windows, Stevie has been involved on the software side too, I think. And I'm curious what his role is going to be here.
With the DirectML execution provider.
All right.
So first you'll see here, this is a JSON config, and this is how I tell Olive what I want to do to optimize my model. Now let's take a look at the generation in the C# WPF application. So this is going to run my Stable Diffusion models locally, and I've watched this progress bar a lot while building this out.
It's taking a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so cool.
Some ARM devices with NPUs.
I was going to say, left unsaid, ARM device with NPU, exactly.
Better than that.
Maybe next year.
Yep. Stable Diffusion local is Qualcomm.
2 seconds. Fantastic. Excellent. Can we do that again?
Why not? It's so fast.
It's awesome.
Do it all day.
It is. I mean, it's. I did a demo with Qualcomm the other day. It's astonishing. Like it is excellent. It is the one area where Qualcomm-based PCs make a lot of sense.
The Olive toolchain, or really the DirectML execution provider. Please take a look at our workshops this afternoon. Cassie and our Onyx experts are going to be there. Yeah. Okay. Great. Now, at last year's build, one of the concepts we introduced that was new was this idea of the hybrid loop. That is about seamless computing across the cloud and the client. It brings together the benefits of the edge, things like performance and responsiveness and privacy, with the power of the cloud to run large models, to house massive data sets, to be able to invoke cross-platform capabilities. And while the concept of hybrid loop can be simple, in practice it can be complex. Pulling this off requires managing a bunch of services, virtual machines in the cloud. And the beauty of the Onyx runtime is you don't have to deal with any of this complexity. Azure shows up as a co-processor in Windows, just like an NPU or a GPU. Cassie, let's show us what this looks like.
Yeah, so now I'll show you a simple logic flow like this in your code, where you can control whether your model runs locally or in the cloud. And for the data scientists in the audience, Olive enables this hybrid loop by creating a single end-to-end model to reduce the amount of code you need to write. So the first thing I'm going to do is select Cloud Inference On, and then I'm going to load my file. This is a quote from a book that I like. I'm going to click Transcribe. You can see in my breakpoint that I'm hitting the Azure Execution Provider, and I'm using the OpenAI Cloud Endpoint for the Whisper large model running in the cloud.
Yep.
So it's going to send that up, and I'm going to get back my transcription.
Fantastic.
So now, if I want to run locally, I'm going to turn the Cloud Inference off, and we're going to run the Olive-optimized Whisper Tiny model on my tiny, cute, adorable laptop here.
That is a lovely machine for sure.
And I'm going to choose a quote from the Kevin keynote yesterday.
So that looks like a Surface
And then I'll
laptop.
click Transcribe.
And
Now you see, I'm
there
hitting
is
my
no
local execution provider.
Qualcomm Surface laptop.
And here we go.
There you go.
Fantastic. Excellent. Thank you. Thank
That
you
happened very quickly. So what is going on there?
Okay. Let's take a minute to process that. What we just saw
I
is
am
how you
literally
use Onyx
processing that.
runtime across platforms,
Please explain it.
cloud and client to take your AI to the next level. I know many of you are web developers. We see you and we love you. With Onyx Runtime or ORT, you are covered for AI development on the web. ORT Web can run your ML models in the browser using web-based.
I mean, you can run that stuff off a GPU, but it won't be as fast as it would be with an NPU.
With WebNN support coming soon.
Unless you
This
have a
gives you the flexibility
gigantic
to target a whole range
NVIDIA
of
desktop workstation type
and
thing.
Azure in your web apps, just like you saw in the SD demo and the Whisper demos. But really, how do you accelerate these models and apps across the range of the hardware ecosystem? Really, GPUs and NPUs are two great ways actually going forward. Let me start with GPUs. Windows 11 has a large and powerful ecosystem of GPUs.
Thank you for reading my mind and then providing the demo.
Running behind me, you should be able to see 2 LLMs in the class of 10 billion parameter models. The DALL-E model you saw in action yesterday in Kevin's keynote, and NVIDIA's NeMo model, fully optimized, running on Windows Client with NVIDIA client GPUs. You can reach more than 200 million discrete GPU customers today for acceleration of AI models on Windows.
Granted, they're all gamers.
That's right. It's kind of amazing.
But there may be some application.
Partnering with NVIDIA, we're making these and other cutting-edge open source models available to you soon. Now, let me switch gears a little bit and talk about neural processing units, or NPUs. NPUs are powerful accelerators, purpose-built to accelerate machine learning workloads. And as we look to the future, NPUs in the Windows ecosystem will continue to scale and grow and get you plenty of opportunities. AMD recently announced the Ryzen Mobile 7040 series, along with the Ryzen AI execution provider for Onyx Runtime. Intel's Keynote accelerators are going to be in market shortly, and the Meteor Lake platform comes to market this holiday, featuring Intel's first integrated neural processor.
So it'll be in Meteor
support for Onyx Runtime.
Meteor Lake.
It'll be integrated. So you can actually get it today as an add-on card, supposedly, but I have never seen that out in the world, like for Gen 13.
The power of AI on modern silicon. The Qualcomm Snapdragon compute platform and devices like the Windows DevKit 2023 that we in fact announced at Build last year, and the Surface Pro 9 5G are empowering developers to create some amazing AI.
Yeah, Qualcomm is on Gen 7, by the way, on this stuff.
Great example in my mind. Luminar Neo is about making creativity accessible to everyone and empowering photographers of all levels with AI-assisted editing features. A single feature in Luminar Neo, like automatic background removal, relies on more than 20 models are running behind the scenes. So the speed at which these models run is critical to the user's experience. With the latest NPU-powered devices, this kind of a workload in Windows is drastically accelerated. Like their Super Sharp AI feature. It uses AI to fill in and sharpen blur details. On a CPU, this could take about 2 minutes. But that same operation moved to an NPU takes only about 8 seconds. That is extra time for all of us to get creative.
I mean, it will take you 2 minutes to boot up the computer, but the NPU stuff is fast.
Like Shilpa mentioned, there will be some incredible apps and tools for you in the Microsoft Store AI Hub, including Luminar Neo and other amazing AI apps. With Windows, AI-enabled silicon, Onyx Runtime, and the Olive toolchain, we are empowering every developer to be an AI developer. And we can't wait to see what you will create on Windows.
Onyx came out of Facebook. It was originally a PyTorch project under Facebook, and then Microsoft was brought in.
What we saw with Cassie in the Whisper demo is that vision is now a reality. Looking forward,
it is an open standard.
Will continue to get more seamless, providing you with richer capabilities. We believe we're in the infancy of what this transformation can look like. And Panos is going to come back here to tell us what this opportunity looks like in the future. Thank you very much.
Let's take a look. Let's take a walk into the future.
Remember when you were in high school and someone threw you a basketball? There's Stevie.
He's a little shorter.
A little.
I got to admit, I'm actually feeling a little vulnerable. You see, last year, I had a bunch of really cool demos to lean on. This year, Panos handed me a blank piece of paper and asked me what I should write and say to this audience. And so I did. And I'm here with no demos.
Are you pumped?
So I have thoughts for you, and I think it's worthwhile. All right, everyone's already said this, but really, AI is bringing unprecedented change. And at times, I really do feel like I'm an intern all over again. And it can be daunting on where to start and even how to think about its impact on your apps. But here are 3 thoughts for you. First, between Windows, M365, and Azure ML, we're giving you the latest and most powerful tools to help. Pavan and Cassie just showed this to you. They showed the Onyx Runtime, the Olive toolchain. Use them. Use them to compile, deploy, and run your AI efficiently across the most diverse ecosystem of devices on the planet. But it doesn't just stop there. Yesterday, Scott talked about new tooling that allows you to fine-tune large models with techniques like LoRa with just one click. I mean, geez, taking something at the scale of GPT 3.5 and retraining it, making your own, that's groundbreaking. Something that was so difficult just last year is now so easy. Second, contextualize every interaction. Earlier, Rajesh spoke about the importance of the person being at the center. One of the most powerful ways to do so is use the Microsoft 365 graph and its APIs to help ground the API and personalize every interaction, every prompt. This contextualization is a key differentiator that will enable you to go broad and deep with your customers. And third and finally, Panos just mentioned it. AI is the new interaction technology. Or really, what does that mean? 50 years ago, the industry had a milestone event. Take a look at this demo with Doug Engelbart, showing off the mouse and keyboard interaction. That impact of those innovations revolutionized application
design. It's been driving cats crazy for 50 years.
That application structure hasn't changed much since. It's wild. Until now. For the next 50 years, this direct, very explicit interaction model will be completely transformed by what's happening today. And we already see it. Our interfaces are transforming from being exact to being more implicit and fuzzier, less programmatic, more piloted. To seize this opportunity to build the next generation of apps and services, I want to take just a brief moment, because I got to catch a plane actually right after this, so just a brief moment, to share the patterns we're seeing and how people infuse AI into their experiences. 3 new AI application structures are emerging, shaped by how AI functions relative to your application. Is the AI beside your app, inside, or outside? It's a simple frame to use alongside what Kevin Scott spoke yesterday. In the first application structure, the AI is beside your application, helping your tasks, being a helper. It's like a co-pilot. It is a co-pilot. It's very appropriate that the first types of significant AI experiences are co-pilots because it enables us to get in the game quickly. It keeps the original app architecture definition and is minimally disruptive to what our customers already know. Yet, this new application structure delivers immensely capable tools and experiences that did not exist before. We're excited for the new Windows Copilot. And all
everything the beginning of this wasn't.
Like
I think I'm with you, Paul. Panos got blown up. Yeah, he got his story taken away, and he had to fill.
The AI is inside as the main scaffolding of the app. It's the main input loop. Here, you use AI to completely redefine the application interaction model and even its purpose. The interaction model will be less dependent on point-and-click commands. Things will become much more automatic. We see glimpses already happening in applications like Designer, ClimChat, and Luminar Neo that take pro-level skills and turn them into one-click, slider-driven intents and much more intuitive interactions, all without compromising the result. Here, there are fewer toolbars, fewer deep menus, simply because you don't need them. You want to just intuitively direct the app with what you're managing, and this task is accomplished from within the context of the application. And this brings us to the third and final application structure, where AI goes from executing from within the context of the application frame to AI being outside, executing globally. Here, the AI will orchestrate across multiple apps, plugins, and services, functioning more as an agent. This structure will bring code to the person rather than the person going to the code, allowing the agent to connect, orchestrate, and keep context across entire workflows, across devices, and even across vastly different timescales. You see these ideas already emerging in agents and orchestrators like Microsoft Jarvis, Semantic Kernel, and the Bing Orchestrator. In fact, if you take a step back, the Windows shell itself is an orchestrator. In fact, maybe one of the most powerful orchestrators across apps, across content, across the graph.
This is where he announced Windows 12.
Imagine with AI and natural language, you start to see glimpses of the
Stevie speaks the truth here.
Windows Copilot. And it is here when you get
he's one of the visionaries, right? He's a technical fellow at Microsoft, so his job is to think about the future.
But like I said, he was hardware, and now I have this. He's clearly stepping into the world of software. And I think he's well spoken, and I think he should be doing this show. Doing this keynote,
We'll already start to see these outside structures emerging, and you can start creating them today.
He doesn't seem like he's pontificating. He seems like he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
And with the solutions we're providing you, from our copilots to our plugins, from our foundational models to our AI runtimes.
This should have been the start of this talk. This is what developers want to know, right here.
The new AI application structures.
Well, it's a roadmap.
Give Panos credit. He didn't hijack this either. He did his piece, let him close with something
I
strong.
feel like I'm learning all over again.
Yeah.
And maybe so are you. But Microsoft is here alongside you, providing the easiest tools to build, the latest AI to delight, and the broadest platform to deliver those cutting-edge experiences and revolutionary interaction models. Each of our solutions build on each other. This is so important for you to understand, each of them. So use the tools we're building for you. They help you optimize and customize your AI for your applications. And that enables you to personalize and contextualize every interaction, which helps you reinvent your interaction model, further enabled by embracing one of the 3 new AI application structures I just talked about: beside, inside, and outside. Look for ways to use AI and agents to achieve your customers' overall goals, not just their individual tasks. Doing so will make your work more intuitive, yet functional, more natural, yet powerful. All this to enable and reach and empower more people. With that, I would like to bring Panos back on stage to help us close it out.
Yeah, I think that was the best crystallization of what Microsoft's vision is for AI and how they could partner with developers.
What you saw today, what did you think?
And they have the best story, frankly, much better than Mac OS or Linux. This is.
Plus, he just said this thing, which is, I don't mean to say it's profound, but it's concise. Microsoft is like your co-pilot, you being the developer.
Of the new AI
It's good marketing.
Platform on Windows. We are grateful for your time. Thank you for all you do. Go change the world.
No pressure.
Panos Panay wrapping up a keynote began by Rajesh Jha, who kind of talked about some of the things Satya talked about yesterday in terms of Copilot's presence throughout Microsoft. The Microsoft Graph, which is, of course, a really important part of all this, the data that you collect as a company, all in one spot, then accessible via Copilot throughout various applications. I agree with you, Paul. I'm not convinced that Panos Panay's revival meeting accomplished much except making me want those nice Converse Chuck 70 sneakers. No longer available. They were a January 10th drop. They're out of market now. Maybe you can get them on an auction site. I'll ask Christina Warren. But I think Steve Batish was absolutely the key to the whole thing. And you're right.
I thought he was amazing.
He should have led off, making a very strong case for Microsoft as your partner as you develop AI applications. And by the way, not just for Windows. As you said early on, this was about developing with Windows, not developing for Windows. And, they did a little bit of that, but really that is a strong and compelling argument that he made for this.
It is. Yeah, right. I mean, one of the criticisms I've had of builds past is that Windows has again kind of shunted to the side a little bit as they focused on the cloud and blah, 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 whatever. And that you could make the argument this is happening again with AI, except these applications can by and large run on Windows as well as in other places, but you will develop on Windows. And I think that's a great message for Windows at a developer show.
Yeah. He talked about AI living in 3 different places. Most of the AI apps we're seeing today are like Bing Chat. They're a sidebar aside your regular application. But he also painted a roadmap for moving AI into applications. He showed Luminar Neo, which uses AI and sliders to kind of take away some of the complexity of photography and photo editing. And then outside, which is really an interesting and compelling vision, the idea that AI exists cross-application,
as an orchestrator.
As an orchestrator.
That's the good word he used.
And the thing he said that I think is very important is that the original orchestrator was the Windows shell, was Progman. And that now it sounds like Microsoft sees an opportunity. They certainly see an opportunity for Copilot as platform. That was very clearly made yesterday as a point. But maybe what they're saying, and I guess this is what you've been talking about all along, is this idea of the next version of Windows being AI-driven, the orchestration being handled by AI. Rich, what do you think?
Well, actually...
go ahead. If you want, Paul. Go ahead.
I mean, I love this point about Windows being the original orchestrator, because I remember being a very happy DOS developer and then battling the driver problem alone, right? I mean, I made money picking printers for companies based on what software they wanted to run, because each one had its own set of printer drivers. And so when they brought all of that under the umbrella of Windows, and again, we trivialize cut and paste, but it's a freaking miracle. The idea that you can lift data between applications. So, it is the original orchestrator, but this is the new GUI. The front end on it is what makes the difference.
It's also been kind of the holy grail for operating systems for a long time. The idea, of Olay, of the COM
loop, what we're doing now.
Yeah. The whole idea of it not being program focused, but being doc focused, and using programs across the document. And this is what people have been trying to do for a long time. Maybe we're finally getting there. Rich Campbell, I know you're going to have to leave pretty soon. Paul Thurrott, will you stick around? We'll do Windows Weekly immediately following this and talk in more detail about what
just go
everybody
grab a
just
bathroom
saw.
break.
That's all right. I have to change studios too, so no problem.
Real quick though, I just wanted to. I think you said something I think is hit the nail on the head. I think when he talked about those different models, he was describing Windows 11, where we're going to have a sidebar, a Copilot, and then I think he was describing Windows 12, where it's going to be more integrated. Because that's the first thing I said about the sidebar was, yeah, this is cute. We have another button on the taskbar that means nothing to anybody. Great, this is just what we need, another button. And but that's the first step. That's how you get to. You can't just go right to integration, right? This has to be something that's available in all of the apps. Like what will make a good Windows 12 app is what makes those third-party apps you showed earlier, like the photo example you were talking about, is that that stuff is just integrated where you are. It's not just some side thing, right, that sits on the side. It's every experience you do will be infused with AI. So I think that is how we get there.
We're going to take a little break and come back with Windows Weekly. I'll let you two guys go while I thank our sponsor for this event and all of our news events this year, and our studio too, ACI Learning. You probably have a sense of this, but IT skills get outdated in about 18 months. That's all it takes. ACI Learning helps you handle that. They provide world-class service, from assisting you in choosing which learning path suits you best, all the way through helping you find the right career opportunity. Fortify your expertise with access to self-paced IT training videos, interactive practice labs, and certification practice tests. Don't just land a job. Start a secure, lifelong career doing something you love. ACI Learning is with you every step of the way with binge-worthy training. Visit go.acilearning.com/twit to learn more. Use the code TWIT30 for 30% off a standard or premium individual IT Pro membership. We thank you, ACI Learning, for sponsoring this broadcast today, and frankly, for helping us all year long, sponsoring the studio and so forth. I hope you've enjoyed this special Twit News special, talking about, covering the second day keynote. It's been an interesting couple of days. Windows Weekly is coming up in just a minute. We're going to talk in more depth about everything we saw and what to expect, because, of course, Build is just beginning. In fact, coming up, Scott Hanselman in the Build stream, and we always love watching Scott. Developer Joy is the name of his talk. So that'll be a lot of fun. Right now, Christina Warren is doing the in-between stuff. We'll be back with Windows Weekly as we move over to Studio B in just a moment. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Hey there, Scott Wilkinson here. In case you hadn't heard, Home Theater Geeks is back. Each week, I bring you the latest audio-video news, tips and tricks to get the most out of your AV system, product reviews, and more. You can enjoy Home Theater Geeks only if you're a member of Club TWiT, which costs $7 a month, or you can subscribe to Home Theater Geeks by itself for only $2.99 a month. I hope you'll join me for a weekly dose of home theater geekitude.